Aaron Bates. It's just minutes after judgment was handed down in the Constitutional Court. Justice Mogoeng outlining his judgment on the Nkandla matter. And with me in studio is Executive Secretary of CASAC, Lawson Naidu. Thank you for your time. Lawson, let's just go through the judgment. What are the kind of key points that we need to take away from what Mogoeng said?
Well, I think the first point to make is that this was a judgment, as you say, read by the Chief Justice, but it was a unanimous judgment of the court. All 11 judges concurred in this judgment, and I think it is a critical judgment in our constitutional democracy. It sets out clearly the powers and responsibilities of the President, of the National Assembly, and the constitutional framework within which Chapter 9 organizations such as the Office of the Public Protector function.
And he really dealt with the issue of what the Public Protector's role is, where she fits in terms of the Constitutional Court, and what her recommendations about Nkandla and the upgrades mean. Can you just unpack that for us?
Well, the court went through the process of unpacking the role of the Public Protector within our democracy, why this office was created. The court specifically mentioned the fact that this is a new creation under the Constitution. It is designed to provide a mechanism for people who would otherwise not have access to the courts through lack of resources and so on, to complain to the Public Protector about abuse of public power, maladministration, impropriety in public office and so on. So it's a critical institution to ensure good governance and to ensure that those that would otherwise not have a voice do have some recourse to justice.
If we go back, though, to 2014, when Thuli Madonsela filed her report, Secure and Comfort, on the upgrades to Nkandla, did no one in the National Executive know at the time what her role was and where she fits in terms of the Constitution?
Well, I think that there was divided opinion up until quite recently, even amongst legal experts, on the extent of the powers of the Public Protector and whether the remedial action was binding or not. And we had, for example, the Western Cape High Court judgment of Justice Skippers, which was, went a particular way. The Supreme Court of Appeal recently confirming the Public Protector's powers are indeed binding. So there was an element of legal uncertainty that has now been fully clarified by this judgment. So I think it may have been acceptable at that time for there to have been some debate about whether it was the Public Protector's powers were binding or not. But the court sets out a process whereby if one is in disagreement with the findings of the Public Protector, how one can go about challenging that. And that was a process that was not followed by the President nor by the National Assembly.
And that's really what this case boiled down to, was how the President and the National Assembly responded to what the Public Protector recommended. And instead of kind of heeding her advice and then proceeding with a legal dispute, they chose another route.
Yeah, they chose a political route. The President chose to use Parliament and structures of the executive, the Minister of Police and so on, in order to second guess the findings of the Public Protector and effectively to undermine and overrule the findings of the Public Protector. The court said that that is not acceptable, that on the one hand, whilst the President had a right to challenge that report of the Public Protector if he thought she was wrong. The way to do that was to bring a judicial review of the Public Protector's report, and on that basis to challenge the report. The President opted not to do that, but rather to use the Minister of Police and Parliament to try and achieve the very same objective.
If we fast forward to the end of the judgment, there were recommendations about working out how much the President is having to pay back, and that really does reintroduce that whole chant of pay back the money. What were the other recommendations?
Well, I think the very important aspect that the court dealt with was the fact that the court made declaratory orders that both the President and the National Assembly were in breach of their constitutional obligations. That was an issue that we will recall that Advocate Jeremy Gauntlet, representing the President in the Constitutional Court hearing, was very keen for the court not to enter into. He was suggesting that the court didn't need to go into making those what he called wide-ranging declaratory orders. The court found that it was incumbent upon itself to do so, in that in terms of the Constitution, where constitutional violation exists, the court is duty-bound to rule on that and to make reference to that, and the court did so. So I think that was a very important aspect of the judgment today, that the President did violate the Constitution and was therefore in breach of his oath of office.
And Justice Mogoeng saying as well that the president is the first person in South Africa, that he has a duty to abide by the Constitution, to uphold it, and really, in order to do so, he needs to pay back some of the money at least.
Yeah, and in regard to the amount to be paid back, the court ordered that National Treasury must determine that amount, taking into account the Department of Public Works provisioning, and to report back to the court within a period of time, and importantly, reporting back to the Constitutional Court. So the court itself is still seized of the matter, and the court itself has taken on the responsibility of now ensuring that the remedial action of the Public Protector is in fact implemented. So the Treasury must report to the court on how much needs to be paid, and the President will then have a further period, I think, of 30 days or 45 days in which to actually pay back that money.
And that's going to inevitably bring in the question of e-wallet and, cash transfers and all the rest of it. So National Treasury has 60 days to determine that amount. Is that the ambit of Praveen Gordhan's department?
It absolutely is. It's National Treasury that must determine that amount. We know that the Public Protector's report recommended that suggested that the Treasury do so in collaboration with the Ministry of Police, but given the fact that the Ministry of Police has now shot itself out of the picture as a result of the report that has been declared unlawful, that the Ministry of Police is out of the picture, so it's now just down to Treasury to determine that amount and to report back to the court on that.
So while we have a final announcement, a judgment from the Constitutional Court on the Nkandla matter, it's certainly not over, with 60 days until National Treasury submits their amount to the Constitutional Court. News 24 Live will have rolling coverage of the Nkandla judgment throughout today.